podcast, The Twins Who Knit. I'm Jessica.
And I'm Rachel.
And this is our podcast where we talk about all the things that we've been knitting recently.
So if you are new here, welcome. We're so glad you're here. And if you were with us for the last episode, it has been about 3 weeks. So we've gotten a lot of knitting done.
So excited to share them with you. We'll start with what we're wearing. So this is the Eva cardigan by PetiteKnit. In the last episode, it was a whip, and I think I was still on the yoke. So clearly made a lot of progress since we talked last. Well, one of us did.
Some progress was made.
Yeah. Yeah, we're doing this together. Well, we were doing it together as I knit
We're
along.
still doing it together.
Yeah.
Me and Paige, we have a friend Paige who is also joining us. And me and Paige are not done. Jessica beat both of us. Although I think I am in last place right now. It's fine. Okay.
It's not a race.
Yeah, that's right.
Goodness, where was I going? This is my first time doing the contiguous shoulder method, if I can talk, where you start doing like the increases on the back, kind of like you would a drop shoulder, and then you pick up and you knit some stitches for the shoulder, so it looks kind of like a drop shoulder, but then you pick those up and you knit the remainder of it like you would a raglan. So it was actually really fun. It was really easy. It felt like knitting a raglan, not just like back and forth where you do increases. But it looks like a drop shoulder. So
yeah,
that was
actually
pretty fun.
when I started going to the sleeve, in my mind it looks like a drop shoulder, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to pick up stitches, and I was like, no, I'm not. They're already there. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah, so really enjoyed knitting it. I don't know if I said this, but I used Scout by Kettlebourne Woolens, and I believe the color is chestnut. So it almost looks black on camera, but it's actually just a really dark brown. Absolutely love the color. I did discover though, I'm wearing it today and I'm just gonna risk it, but I blocked it on my blocking mats with the body primarily being on the blocking mats, but then the arms were hanging over a little bit, so I put some white towels under the sleeves so they weren't just like touching the ground as they were drying, and they dyed the white towels brown, so that's a little concerning. I'm gonna wear it today just for this, but then afterwards I'm gonna take it off and I'm gonna reblock it a couple of times, but I'm gonna not reblock it a couple of times, I'm gonna like soak it and then rinse it, soak it and rinse it until the water runs clear, and then I'll block it again, just because I don't want to accidentally risk dyeing like this is just a cheap tank top, but I don't want to risk dyeing something that I really care about and want to keep nice. So that's a little concerning. And then not to like spoil the acquisitions later, but I loved working with this yarn so much. I did go ahead and buy it in black and white to make a striped pullover. And I think I'm gonna have to wash the black yarn a couple of times before I knit with it, which I don't normally do, but I don't want to risk knitting the stripes and then having the black dye the white stripes.
You know how last episode I did a swatch for the stripe pipe because I was worried about the same thing? You could do something like that too.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna try it. I'm just like, I feel like for peace of mind, I'm gonna end up washing it a couple of times.
Yeah.
At least once.
Too.
Yeah. But no, loved the cardigan. The only thing that I kind of like was mindful of when knitting it, and you might be too if you decide to knit it, which I definitely encourage. I love the way it turned out, but the button band looked horrible when I first knit it. I did follow her instructions as far as like the rate of how many stitches to pick up like along the edge, and the multiples and everything like that, so I followed her instructions to a T. But because it's ribbing and the rest of it was stockinette, it like cinched up and it just looked like it was going to be like really shrunken and tight. So I fully was convinced that I was going to have to redo the button band. But after blocking, it looks great. I'm really happy with it. And then the other thing about the button band that was just, maybe you can be mindful of it when you get to this part, is that she has you do the buttonholes on the purl stitches of the right side. Which makes sense because then the knit columns look nice and smooth and it looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that my stitches were picked up, these two and these two, like the top two and the bottom two, are the same distance. But then these two are a little bit closer than the others. And I don't think it's super weird. Noticeable. And like, I've been wearing it tucked in, so I don't really care, to be honest. Like, I don't think you see it anyways. I say I've been wearing it. I'm wearing it today before I block it, but I intend to like tuck it in. I think it's kind of cute with jeans like this. But if that's gonna bother you, you might be more strategic with like the rate of how you pick up than I was.
Could you change it and put it into a knit, or would that?
I think you could, especially because like if you use big buttons like I did, you don't even see.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna leave it open and wear it like an open face cardigan,
I see.
you might care a little more.
Okay, that's.
I don't know if that makes sense to
No,
anyone.
I've not even started the button band yet.
Yeah.
So.
I think if you're gonna wear it closed and have big button, like nobody's gonna know. But if you're gonna wear it open, just something to consider.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, tell us about your sweater.
So this was a FO in the last podcast, and I was so good last time and finished 2 pullovers. So that did not happen this time. But I finished it last time and then was wearing a different piece that I had finished. So I thought I would wear it today. This is my clay sweater by Ozetta, or Haley Smedley, maybe. Is that right?
I think so.
Ozetta. She's a beautiful designer. And I got to test knit this design, which I was so excited about. So the actual pattern recommends a DK yarn from Wool Dreamers, and I've just not been getting the gauge. It was 18 stitches for 4 inches. It wasn't happening with a DK, so I went up a little bit, and I used the Fibre Cumbria. I forget what color. I'll put it in the description. Fibre Cumbria, which says it's a worsted, but it is a little bit light for a worsted in my opinion. And I paired that with Soft Silk Mohair from Knitting for Olive in the color Off-White, which I don't think they carry anymore. I have not seen that one in a long time. I think they might have replaced that with Cream maybe. But I held those 2 together, and I think I got really a true worsted gauge with that, but I was able to get the 18 stitches, so that worked out really well. I did also it wasn't a mistake, but just like be aware of it. So I don't really check my row gauge a whole lot. I find that it doesn't make a lot of difference in a lot of patterns, but in this one it does. It didn't super impact it. I think my collar might have ended up a little bit longer than it should have, but I really like how it turned out anyway. It was not a problem. But like, for instance, on Haley's, she had like so many increments to get to the recommended length, and that was for the sleeves too. Like, you could look at her picture and count how many repeats she had, and I had like at least 1 or 2 less. I feel like I got the row gauge a lot, like my row gauge was too long for this, and I'm thinking if it was any more significant, it would have affected the collar more. So I would say you should do this all the time anyway, but check your row gauge for this pattern, because I do think it would have an effect on it, just the way that the pattern's written. And it wasn't enough to bother me, and it didn't really have any effect at all, but just like, if yours was significantly different, something to be aware of. So, but yeah, I talked about it last episode too, so if you want more details, you might check out that podcast. And that's what I'm wearing today. Do you want to start talking about things that you finished?
Sure. Well, I only have one other FO other than what I'm wearing. So I did finish my holly sweater by Knitting for Olive.
Beautiful.
So I'm super excited. I hope I have a lot of Christmas parties to go to this coming year, where I get to show them off and wear it. I talked about it a lot in the last episode, so I don't want to go into too much detail, but just a little refresher. The yarn is Knitting for Olive in the colorway Cream, and I use their Merino and soft silk mohair held together. And then the green is the same yarn, but in the color Bottle Green. And then the red is actually yarn that I had in stash. It's from Knit Picks. And so it is their alpaca cloud lace, or lace cloud, something like that. It's like a lace
in the description.
A lace, yeah. And then held together with their mohair as well, which I believe is called Aloft. So for that one, I held, I think I said it in the last one, so correct. So I'll make sure that I'm correct here, but I'm pretty sure I held 2 strands of lace with 1 strand of mohair for that one. And I would not recommend doing that. I just did it because that's what I had in stash. But yeah, I didn't enjoy knitting it just because it was like between the white, the red, and the green. It was a lot of yarn happening because it was like you have 2 or 3 balls of each yarn, so you're working with like 6 or 7 yarn balls at a time, and they're going back and forth. And then for most of the green and white, it wasn't too bad because there weren't a ton of long floats. But for the red, there were a lot of long floats. Like pretty much all of it was just a long float.
Yeah,
and
I
so
hate
carrying
knitting baubles.
and I hate knitting baubles. So like between the long floats and the baubles, I just did not enjoy knitting the red rose or the rose with red in it. I don't know if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So I'm so happy with how it turned out, and I think it's really cute.
So how many rows is it from like the start of the red to the end? Like how many rows do you have to suffer through?
For the red, thankfully, I don't remember exactly, but I would say like 6 to 8.
Okay, so that's not too bad.
So it's not too bad. Like if you can just power through those rows, you'll be golden. But like I will warn you, they were not fun for me, you know. To each their own. Some people may be like, this is my jam and I love it, but like I was not feeling that way. And the other thing about this pattern, I don't know if you see how long the sleeves are, but they are about 2 inches too long. They're a little Slenderman like.
They do look a little long.
They're a little long. I followed the pattern exactly, and to be honest, I didn't try the sleeve on. I just like kind of held it up as I was knitting. But they grew a lot when blocking, so I've tried it on now that it's like done drying and everything. They're too long. They look fine if I roll them up, and honestly, I might just wear it like that. Like I may just cuff them up, and it's really cute like that. I might end up going back and taking like 2 inches out. I haven't decided yet, but it's a possibility. So I'll keep you updated as to what I do. I kind of want to wait and like wear this out one day, like wear it to work or wear it to a Christmas party and just see how I'm feeling. And if I'm feeling like, oh, I wish I could uncuff these sleeves, then I'll redo them. If I'm like, oh no, it's fine cuffed, I wore it like that the whole night, it didn't bother me, I might just leave it.
It's still so cute though.
Yeah. Honestly, if it was like a sweater that I was gonna wear every single day, I'd probably just be like, whatever, I'll redo it. But for me, this is like it's gonna be an occasion sweater. It's not gonna be an everyday sweater. So yeah.
The month of December.
Yes, it's a December sweater.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about your echoes?
I have 2. One was almost done last episode, so it probably doesn't look significantly different than the last time you saw it, but now there's 2 of them. So these are the Ballad socks by Sari Nordlund. I wonder if I can get it to focus on this texture because it is such a beautiful texture. So if you've been with us for a while ago, back in like July, I think, I took this cuff color, which is Coast to Coast Biscuits from her Book Tropes collection, and I made the Poet socks, which has a similar motif but much bigger throughout the socks. This one has like 6 repeating motifs throughout, so like there's 3 on this side, 3 on the other side. The other one is double the size, so it only has 3 motif repeats. The Poet socks, that is. Poet socks have 3 repeats. The Ballad socks take that same motif and make them smaller, so it's the 6. But they're very similar, so I took the cuff color from the Poet socks to add to my Ballad socks. Hopefully all that makes sense. Because they feel related to me. They're like, I call them
sister socks.
Yes, that's what I call them. So for the main color, I used Coast to Coast Unexpected Friendship from her Book Tropes collection. And I am sad because I still have scraps of a lot of the yarns, but I've used up all of the yarns that I bought from that collection. And it was such a beautiful yarn collection that she did. So anyway, those are my Ballad socks. Sari Nordlund, I should say, not she. But Sari Nordlund does have another like sock pattern that goes with this called the Verse socks. So I think I do need to knit those soon so that I have the Poet, the Ballad, and the Verse because they all go together. They all play off the same kind of motif pattern. But I thought these worked out really well. I think Sari Nordlund makes beautiful socks, and she always does my favorite like reinforced heel flap and gusset, which is, in my opinion, the best way to make socks. So those are my Ballad socks, and I really liked how they turned out.
They're beautiful.
And you don't have any other finished objects, do you?
Nope, that's it.
I get to go again, but I don't know how I feel about this one. We will see. I have a friend from, well, we used to work together, and she doesn't work there anymore, but she is learning how to knit, and she was like, I really want like a project, like not just like knitting a square, you know, a random garter scarf. She was like, I want to feel like I knit something at the end of this that I like actually like. And so I recommended the Oslo hat, and I was like, I'll knit one with you. It'll be great. I finished mine. She's not. That's okay, because I think I'm gonna make another one. I have knit Oslo hats before for my husband, but I was thinking this one would be for me. I don't think that's gonna happen. So I'll try it on and show you in a second. This is the Oslo hat by PetiteKnit. I feel like everyone is knitting them right now because they are very easy and they make wonderful Christmas gifts. I knit it with 2 strands of Sunday from Sandnes Garn in the color Into the Woods. And I loved it, and I wanted it to be for me. But do you see how giant this hat turned out?
I think that's going to be bigger than your
Like,
husband's head.
It might be too big for him. And so let me put this on because I followed the second to largest size, which I think she lists as the women's size. So,
but was your gauge right?
I don't gauge watch for hats. So
Oh,
that's on me. That's on me.
That's on you.
I admit. But I did follow. Okay, so it should be wide, right? But and I love how thick the brim is. But this part is way too long too. So let's just like see this thing on. What happened? I think the brim is cute, like the thick
The
brim.
brim's cute.
I'm here for that.
Yeah.
I like that. What is all this?
Can you take it back and just like take like a couple inches out?
Yeah, I could. I could do that.
I would do
I
that.
might honestly, because like this part really doesn't bother me. Like it might be a little big, but I don't mind.
Yeah. But that
Yeah, maybe I will, because I really wanted this color for me. This is like so far out, but we're planning next year on going out to the Oregon coast, and I just pictured myself having like this little forest green hat, and I'll bring my really dark I knit like a dark brown hat earlier this year, and I was like, I just like having those like dark moody colors. I think it'd be so cute. And then this happened, and I don't know. So yeah, maybe we'll go back and take some of it out, because she would have been so cute. She would have. Yeah, I don't even think it would fit my husband. I think it would be too big for him too.
I think his head's not that big.
So
Much bigger than yours.
yeah, and actually I did cast on another one of these because they're very enjoyable to knit, and I've got quite a bit of knitting for Olive and Sandnes Garn Sundays, or knitting, I should say knitting for Olive Merino and Sandnes Garn Sunday. Those 2 yarns are very comparable to me, and so I was like, this will be a great way to stash bust. I'll make a hat for me, I'll make a hat for my husband, you know, Christmas gifts if we need them for anything that comes up. And so I already cast one on, and I didn't even get it out to show it on this podcast, because once I blocked this and realized that I might need to go back and change needles or change
What size needles
which
did you
size.
use?
I used 5 because the recommended gauge for the pattern is 4, and usually I don't have to worry too much about PetiteKnit patterns. I feel like I can always take a PetiteKnit pattern and just go up 1 needle size. And for a garment, I still swatch even if I think that that's true. But for a hat, I was like, it's fine. I've made Oslo hats before. Like,
That checks out though, because I've made this pattern before and I use size 4.
and
we have very similar gauges.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll go. Maybe I did use a 4. It's been a long time since I've knit one, but I know that I've knit an Oslo hat for my husband before. Maybe I did use the true to size 4, US 4. So yeah, maybe we'll just go back and take some out, because she's ridiculous right now.
Yeah.
So that's my other finished object that may come back later. Let's talk about whips.
Well, I've got 2 whips right now, so I'll start
I
with
have
the
two, too.
one
2 as well.
that we talked about last time that I've made significant progress on. This is my Artisane cardigan by Sandnes Garn Design. It is featured in one of their DIY collections that was published recently. I forget the number. They're always like 2271 or something like that. We'll have a link to the Ravelry pattern down below so that if you're interested, you can check it out. But the reason I was so excited about this one was because it's asymmetrical. So one side has all of these cables and the other side has these like knit and purl zigzags on them.
It's so good.
It was so, honestly, this was the most fun thing to knit I've knit in like a long time. Like I was obsessed as soon as I started knitting the zigzags. I was like, oh,
Wait, so is it seamed or do you have to just...
It's seamed up to the ribbing.
Okay.
So you knit.
I was trying to find the seam on the ribbing and I wasn't finding it.
Oh yeah, good. You knit flat from the back and moss stitch up until you stop before you get to the ribbing, and then which did I do? I think I started with the zigzag, and you knit the zigzags all the way down, and just flat, and then you do. Goodness, how did I do this? You pick up for the cables and you knit those all the way down. And the pattern does warn you that there's a different number of stitches in the, I keep calling them zigzag, I don't know if there's a better description, but there's a different number of stitches between the zigzag and the cables because the cables, you know, shrink up your gauge, they like pull in tighter. And then once you finish knitting all of those flat, you put all of them onto the same needle for the ribbing and you knit the ribbing, and then you go back and you seam from from the moss stitch to the either zigzag or the cables. And then after that, kind of a choose your own adventure. You can either go to the sleeves or you could do the button band. And I chose to do the button band first. So I've knit the button band and then one sleeve. And then I'm working on the last sleeve. Well, I was mad at myself because I actually redid this button band once because the pattern tells you a certain way to do it, and it basically says like have like so many stitches per 4 inches as you're picking up the stitches. And I didn't want to do that. I was feeling a little lazy, and I remembered that for the champagne cardigan by PetiteKnit, which we made recently, which was in a very similar color to this. I'm gonna have 2 beige cardigans. You picked up every single stitch along the edge. And so I was like, oh, I'll just do that. But what I didn't consider was that in the PetiteKnit pattern, she goes down, I think, a whole 0.5 millimeter in needle size. And then this one, I was following the recommended needle size that they had, which was higher. So when I did the button band for the first time, picking up a stitch for every row along the front, it was too big. It was like looking all wavy and wonky because the button band was too long for the cardigan. So I had to go back and redo it on a smaller needle size. So I ended up doing the body on 8 and then the button band on 6 and then the ribbing on US 7s.
That's so much work to redo a button band.
It was so much. I hate redoing button bands. All the double knitting, like, ugh. But it's worth it, I think. Well, I hope it'll be worth it. I haven't blocked it yet, but I think it'll be worth it.
Yeah.
So I just have this last sleeve, so hopefully next time you see it, all of my ends will be sewed up, it'll be blocked, we'll have buttons. I'll let you know how I feel about it. But I'm kind of to the point where I'm done. I think knitting the button band twice, like I lost some steam with this cardigan because it's not as fun as it was when I was doing the ribbing and the zigzags and all that, but we'll get there. I'm just gonna power through this last sleeve since we're almost there.
Well, I guess I'll talk about my Eva cardigan then, because I feel like I can relate to the losing steam after having to redo stuff, because that was the case for this piece. And mine does not look very good. She has not been blocked. She does not have a button band, but we've got body, one sleeve, and another sleeve going. But
The olive color is beautiful.
I really like the olive color. I really like the brown color too, though, so I don't know.
May have to swap and make.
Yes,
Yeah.
do some trades. So I guess I don't really have anything to add about the construction because Jessica talked about it. But here's what happened with mine. So I'm knitting this on size 7. It's like a little piece of lint or something. So because PetiteKnit recommends a 6, and I usually go up, and I gauge swatched, and that was right. So I'm knitting it on a 7. So everything is going really well until, well, actually, we'll get to here, until I made the decision, and this was my fault, but she recommends just doing a, what do you call that, cast off?
Just like a regular bind off, you know, where you knit in pattern and you just like loop one over the other until you get to the end of the row and you pull it through. Yeah, which is what I did for mine.
Yeah. And maybe I should have, because I was like, I'm gonna be fancy and do a tubular cast off in the 2x2, which I did on this pullover and had no problem with, and which I feel like it had been a long time since I'd done a 2x2 tubular bind off on, when I went to do it on this piece, and I feel like now I'm seeing 2x2 everywhere. Like the next whip I have has 2x2. So I don't know if that's like a trend that goes in and out, like 1x1 or 2x2, or if that's just a coincidence in my life right now. But regardless, 2x2 ribbing, I was like, I'm gonna do a tubular cast off. The first time I did it, I felt like the stitches looked like they were, here, I don't know if I should show this, it's probably not my best work, because it still does it a tiny bit, but I felt like my stitches were like really leaning dramatically. And at first I was so ready to be done. I was like, that's fine, I don't care. And then I sat with it and I was like, actually, I do care, we can do better. And I think I did do better. I don't know if it's perfect still, but so I went back and redid that. But in the process of taking apart that bind off, I accidentally snagged the yarn like way down here and had to take it apart and redo half of the ribbing because there was a hole in it, and I was like, oh my gosh. And so I did that. So I've done a whole bunch of ribbing on this, and then I go to the sleeve and I could not get it to comfortably fit on US size 7 16-inch circulars. Like, it had just barely not enough stitches, which I don't know how you did that.
That's how I knit both of the sleeves for mine, and the ribbing on this part. I used size 6, 5 or 6.
Wait, you did size
6? Yeah.
16-inch circulars for the ribbing?
Yeah, I don't know how, but that's what I did, and I don't remember it being an issue. Like, I don't remember it stretching any. I mean, I'm sure the stitches were stretched a little bit, but it wasn't excessive.
Well, mine felt excessive, and I was like, I'm not gonna do that. And so I went to find my DPNs, because that's my preferred way of circular small circumference knitting, and I couldn't find US size 7 DPNs. I was like, where are they? And so, because I have quite a few DPNs, so I was pretty surprised at myself. Spoiler, I had to rebuy them. And so I was like, that's okay, I'll use Magic Loop. That's not my preferred way, but like, I don't want to spend money right now, and I can't find my DPNs. So as I was doing it, I think you can probably still see it in a little bit of the section, like right up here. Oh yes, you can still see it where I needed to take it down just a little bit more. I was getting a really harsh line down it, and I was just so unhappy with it. And I had knitted it like, I was almost done with the sleeve when I decided that I could not live with this line. And so I was like, well, maybe it's just a tension issue and that I am pulling the last stitch when I go, like, you know, when you do Magic Loop and you have like one side and then you pull the needle and then you go to the next side. I think I was just pulling the yarn extra, because when I use DPNs, I usually give a little extra tug at the end. And so I was like, it's a tension issue. I'll redo it with the Magic Loop. I took it all the way apart. I knitted it about the same place, and I, even with being so aware of my tensioning and steam blocking it to make sure that I was like keeping it loose and that I was trying so hard to get the tension right, I was still seeing this line no matter what I did with the Magic Loop. I think it might just be, I wonder if it's, I don't want to blame the yarn, but I think sometimes yarns that have like some fuzz, like mohair, or more rustic yarns where there's like a little, like this yarn is so consistent that I feel like it shows any inconsistency. Whereas if you have like a fuzzier yarn or a rustic yarn, maybe that's it.
Maybe
I don't know.
more forgiving.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I just was like, after redoing the sleeve, almost finishing the sleeve twice, I was like, I'm just not happy with it. And so I went and bought DPNs and I redid it again. You can tell where I didn't take it back all the way. And so I redid this whole thing almost a third time. So I knitted these sleeves so many times. But I think the DPNs ended up working a lot nicer. Because I took this yarn apart after I had steam blocked it several times, I feel like it got a little squiggly. I call it like the ramen noodle yarn, and so I am hoping it will even out just a little bit more in blocking, because I think that this sleeve does have a little bit more lumpy bumpy texture than you would see, for instance, like throughout the body. But I'm hoping the blocking will fix it. It's not enough to bother me anymore like that would have bothered me. So anyway, I'm ready to be done with her too. But I love the color so much.
Yeah, the color is beautiful.
Yeah. And the yarn is so squishy and so soft. It is definitely a joy to work with. But
and did you say what it is?
Oh, I don't think I did. I have a skein here, I think. Thanks for reminding me. It is Pickles Soft Merino, and I don't know the color name, but I know for sure, but I know that it has olive in it. It only says the numbers
13196.
if that means anything to anybody. The color name online does have all of it in the name, and I will put it in the description. It's if you go online, it's the only color that would be like this. They don't have like very comparable ones, so you would be able to find it. So the Pickles Soft Merino. And I really did pick it just because I loved the color so much, because I think the original pattern calls for pure Ghent, but I wanted this olive color so bad.
Yep.
So that is my Eva cardigan that is not done yet.
It'll get there.
It'll get there. Do you have any other works in progress?
I have one other whip right now. So I'll go ahead and talk about this. This is the Kelly sweater, and it actually is the sweater that's on the cover of this Sandnes Garn booklet. So it's just a raglan that has a really wide brim collar, and then it has some like ribbing going down the sides where like the raglan stitches are. It's got like some ribbing right here, and then it has a split hem down at the bottom. So I haven't gotten too far, but I'm making good progress on the yoke. I don't know, really not a lot to say. It's like there's a lot of ribbing right here. There are no short rows for like neck shaping. I was like, what is the word for this body part? There's no short rows, so that has me a little nervous, but I think it's gonna be like oversized enough that it'll be okay. The reason I've kind of gotten this far and then stopped, one, I need to finish the Artisane cardigan that I've been working on, so I need to really prioritize that. But then also, somehow this is the like longest size US 6 circular needle that I have, which I was really surprised at, because I was like, surely I have larger. I don't know where
our needles
I know, I don't know where they're going. Or like why I thought I had a pair, but long story short, I think this is 32, maybe a 40-inch needle, and it's starting to get a little bunchy. I could probably do a few more rows, but since you're increasing, it's like a raglan, you know, so you're increasing 8 stitches every other round, and that goes fast.
Yeah, it does.
So I can probably do a handful more rows, but then afterwards these stitches are gonna get so tight that I'm gonna be in trouble. So I've ordered some longer circular needles to keep going, but they don't come in the mail. They're estimated to arrive tomorrow, so hopefully I'll be able to keep working on it then.
Oh, did you say what yarn you're using?
Oh, no, I didn't. This is Tweed, also by Sandnes Garn. I'm just like in my Sandnes Garn era right now.
Jessica's buying all the books.
Yeah, okay, well, yeah, I'll talk about that now.
Every time I see her, she's like, I have a new book.
Well, you know, last time I bought several from SKD Yarns in the UK. And then I was watching the Knitting Page podcast, and she had bought this one right here, the Norwegian Icons. And I've been trying to get this one for a while, except I couldn't find it in the US, and then where I would normally buy these patterns from didn't have this one either. So I was like, oh my gosh, how did you get your hands on that? Like I haven't been able to find it. And so she sent me the link for a Canadian yarn shop. I believe it was called True North that sells them. And so since I was placing an order from Canada, I wanted to get my money's worth on the shipping, which is really how all of these places get me. It's because I will spend so much more to avoid the shipping cost. So yeah, I got this one, the tweed one that has this Kelly sweater. And then I got the Norwegian Icons. And then I got this one that has I believe this is the Frankie sweater that's very popular. And then I got this one that has some really good colorwork sweaters. And I was so excited about this one because there's a sweater in here that I've had saved on Ravelry.
I haven't looked at this one.
A cardigan saved on Ravelry forever. And I just have not found the pattern. I believe it's called the Paula cardigan. So, yeah, long story short, I have so many pattern books now, but even, I don't know, I think these sorts of books are kind of fun, and I need to get better about purchasing, like, you know, the line and like the little pom-poms going out of business, but
no, that's so sad.
I know, it's tragic. I buy a lot of patterns on Ravelry and everything, which is great. It's nice to have electronic versions of patterns, but I feel like these sorts of things will be kind of fun because, you know, 20 years from now, assuming I still have it, it'll be fun to look back and be like, oh, that's what was popular in the like late 2010s, early 2020s or whatever.
Well, and I feel like so many books now, like thinking about Sari Nordlund's, for instance, the photos are gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Or we have the, is it the La Bien-Aimée worsted book?
Yep.
I actually haven't knit a pattern from that book yet, and I really want to, but I'll just like flip through the pages because they're absolutely beautiful.
Yep.
So yeah, I need to get better about books too. I've got one more work in progress as
Yes,
well.
sorry, I like jumped right into acquisitions.
No, I love
but-
seeing the all of the books you have. I'm like, I need to borrow some. I've been working on this episode. Let me see where my yarn's at. I'm working on my Christmas sweater. So this is the Festive Yoke sweater by Skandir Knits. It is somewhat modified, not a ton, I think, but, and let me hold it up so you can, let me see the yarn. If it'll focus. I will talk a little bit about my yarn choices, but first, actually, let me talk about, we'll talk about yarn first. So I'm using, it's from Elk Market. I don't remember where she's from. It is overseas. And so this is her own hand-dyed yarn. I say her, I don't remember her name. Whoever owns Elk Market Yarns, she carries both like commercial, like I think she's got some La Bien-Aimée and like different brands, but then she also has her own hand-dyed. So this is her brand. I think it would be pronounced Sagan, but please don't quote me onto that because I am not sure. Oh, it's, there we go. I think her theme is kind of like mythical creatures or monsters maybe. This is the Boromets. It's 75% BFL and 25% Masham. Please don't come for me for my pronunciation on all of this. And the color is Hearth. So I bought 4 skeins of this. I haven't wound this one because I'm actually not convinced that I need it for the sweater. Although I'm not going to return it. I'm not going to ship this back overseas. I think what I would do with this one, if I don't need 4 for the sweater, is make some December bows, which I think would be really cute for my Christmas tree. So I used this for the base color, but she was out of the natural color that she uses, or like a kind of creamy, I don't know, whatever would be a good base neutral contrast color. So I initially bought some DK Scout from our local yarn store, and as I was knitting this, it felt a lot thicker than the DK here. This I think is kind of a light DK, but I'm not mad about that because the Festive yoke pullover actually recommends a fingering to sport. I just liked this color so much, I was like, I'll make it work with DK. So it listed it as a light DK. I was like, it'll be fine. So that's how that came about. So then the true DK felt really thick compared to it. And so I ended up pulling out some Brooklyn Tweed Loft, which is a fingering, but I always think it's a little bit thick for a fingering. So maybe it's like kind of close to, so this is a little light for a DK. This is a little thick for a fingering. I thought maybe it'll work together. I think overall it did, but you can tell, especially in the reindeer, where the like legs are not quite connected. I hope that it's showing. So there's like 3 little dots where the legs are, and then the antlers are like doing their own thing. I don't know. And I think that that is a result of the fact that my contrast color is a little bit light. Do you see what I'm talking about?
It's a little speckly.
It's a little speckly. I'm hoping it blooms a little bit, but I did it to myself.
You can still tell they're reindeer. Like,
That's what I was
someone from
hoping.
a distance would still be able to tell, like, oh,
Yeah.
that's a winter themed sweater.
Yeah, I feel like you would know.
Yeah.
But were I to redo it, maybe I would have been better off with the thicker as opposed to the thinner contrast color. It's been a while since I've done color work. This is inspiring me to do more color work. I'm feeling very excited about this, but I would not say that color work is my expertise when it comes to knitting. I usually do actually I can't even say I do it like once a year. It's been longer than that. So yeah, we did our best, and it's coming out okay. I think that the stars look so cute on both sides. So overall, I'm happy with it. Let's go back to the pattern for a second, because I don't know what happened, but the short rows in that pattern made no sense to me. The rest of the pattern, so cute. I would still recommend buying it because I think that like the increases were so helpful to have. The charts themselves, because it comes with a bunch of charts in it. You could do this whole thing charted if you wanted, and it has like not only the chart that she recommends, but also like alternative versions. So if you wanted to replace, I think actually I did that. Like it had Christmas trees here, and I replaced it with her reindeer chart instead. And so the charts are amazing. Overall, the increases were very helpful. The short rows, I don't know, but I went on Ravelry as I was reading it because I read through it and was like, what? And then on Ravelry, it seemed like people were divided, where some people were with me and they were like, I did not understand the short rows at all, and they just did their own thing or omitted short rows. I like to have short rows. And then some people were like, I don't know what people were saying, like I didn't have any problems with short rows. Basically what happened was you have the beginning of round marker. It says knit a certain amount of stitches one way, and then knit to like 8 stitches before the BOR round, and then do that again, and then do that again. There weren't enough stitches to do that because of how many she had recommended. So, but the way that I was reading it, the short rows were only in a very small section of the collar. And it also made it off-centered, so your beginning of round, instead of being at the back, would have been like to the side, which she did say in the pattern that that part was correct, that the beginning of round would be on the side, but like the short rows would only be in a very small place as opposed to like evenly distributed throughout the collar. It was weird to me, and so I did my own thing. I think it turned out okay. I think I ended up, when I did it, I did like 4 short rows, and it gave about like 1.25 inches difference from the like back to the front. So I actually haven't tried it on yet. I'm hoping that I did okay, but I did my own thing, and I will try to put my notes on Ravelry for it. So that was the only thing that came up in the pattern that I thought was really weird, and I wasn't the only person because other people on Ravelry have had that issue with the short rows in the pattern too.
You might want to try it on soon.
Yeah, I probably should. Holding it up, I really
Yeah,
am not if I was nervous about it, I definitely would have tried it on, but I'm not super concerned. And I'm not overly sensitive where if like something's on my neck, it's not gonna bother me too much. So I think it'll be okay. We'll find out.
Sure.
So that is my work in progress, or my second work in progress.
Do you have any more?
No, that is all I have. I do have acquisitions.
Same.
Okay.
Well, I will talk about my first one. This is half an acquisition, half not, but I had this vintage DK yarn in my stash for a while by Barocco. And it does have some acrylic. It's acrylic, wool, and nylon. But I find it really soft for a yarn with that combination. And I've used vintage DK before in sweaters, and I actually really enjoy wearing them because sometimes wool is just really, really hot, and I found that sometimes sweaters with this blend of yarn don't get as hot, and I'm not quite as like I don't have to wait until it's freezing cold to wear them. So yeah, so I've had this in my stash for a while, and then I bought some Aloft by Knit Picks, their mohair. It'll focus. That's what it looks like. And so I'm gonna hold these together, and I'm planning to do the Salty Days sweater by Veronica Linder, or Kukavakika, I think is how you say it. And I swatched, but I realized I don't know where our brains have been recently. The theme of this episode has been, wow, mistakes were made.
Redo it over and over again.
Yes. So I swatched, but I swatched using the 1x1 ribbing, and then I realized that the swatch needs to be a 2x1 ribbing. But this looks small anyways for a swatch, so I needed to redo the swatch anyways, and I was attempting to do it, but now I'm gonna redo it with the correct stitch pattern.
I mean, if you have to redo the swatch.
If you have to redo it anyways.
I expect to do that anyway. I sometimes have to swatch 2 or 3 times,
so that's where we're at. But that's the plan, though. Hopefully it'll be... Pretend that's the right stitch pattern, it'll be a cute little sweater. So that's acquisition number 1.
I only have one acquisition, although I realized I have a little bonus too.
Okay.
Not an acquisition, but so I was just talking about Elk Market yarns because of my Christmas sweater, and I was not intending to buy yarn. I have a lot of yarn. I have been looking at my stash and going, I have like at least 5 sweater quantities here, but I saw on Instagram where she posted what she is calling monsters. So again, I think it comes back to that like either monster or mythical creature theme that she has. But she posted this beautiful goldeny green color. I hope that it's focusing there. And it's a one-off, so it was meant to be a different color, and then it came out just a little bit different than the intended color. And so she was like, I still think it's beautiful, but it wasn't what it was supposed to be, so I'm just doing like a one-off. Like she called this Monster Color 1, and I was like, oh my god, I'm in love. And so I bought 3 skeins of it, and then I thought...
Is that a fingering, or how many yards is that?
Yes, it's a fingering.
Okay.
And it's 100% Corriedale, but I think I read online that she recommends it for socks. I've never made socks that don't have some amount of nylon in them, but doesn't matter because I got a sweater's quantity anyway. And then I was thinking about doing a color work with it. Why am I going to do a coloring or a color work fingering? That's going to take me forever. It's fine. I don't know. We'll see. But I got this to maybe do color work. I did realize it doesn't have quite as much what color is this? I should say that. Olven, maybe? It's like a grayish color. I realized it didn't have quite as much contrast as maybe I would like it to have. So we'll see if this is what stays paired with it, or maybe I won't do color work and I'll just do something with this, or I probably have enough other fingering and stash that would contrast with it. I don't know what I'm going to make with it is the point, but I just thought this golden color, olivey color, golden olive, I don't know, I loved it. I also realized
it's not that different.
it is not super far off from what I already have, but that's okay.
You know, you like what you like.
We like what we like. Okay, we get it from our mom. I remember when we were kids, our mom would go like find a nail polish color and him and haw over, oh, do I need this color? Oh, I really like it. It's so pretty. And then she would get it and then go home and have like 5 of that same color already. So yeah, I already kind of had something similar, but I still love it. So that is my acquisition that I am adding to my stash this time around.
Love it.
Yes.
Well, I have one last acquisition, and then that covers everything that I had to share today. But I mentioned that this was Scout, and I absolutely loved working with it. It's rustic, but it's not like it doesn't feel like a rustic yarn when you're wearing it, and it was just such a joy to knit. Like I really enjoyed
That's what
knitting.
this one's feeling too, rustic, but not.
Yeah,
That's a great
not
description.
too rustic, you know.
Feel it.
So I was like, I just wanted to keep working with Scout, so I was like, I need to order, you know, another sweaters quantity worth. So I'm intending to make the Abby pullover by Sandnes Garn because I bought all the patterns. I need to make one of them. Yes. So that's the plan. I'm planning to use black as my main color, so it's predominantly going to be black, but then have the white stripes. And the reason I kind of like that particular pattern is because in the collar and on the edges there's like little bits of the contrast color, kind of like these socks where just like little tips are a different color, you know. So I'm planning on doing that with this pullover. But this is the yarn I was talking about that I think I'm gonna wash it. I'm gonna swatch and just make sure. Well, actually, I think I'm gonna have to wash it before I swatch because I don't want to wind this up into a cake and then have to wash it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be easier to wash when it's like,
I think you're right.
I forget what they're called, but those like big loops, you know, that are
Yes.
tied together. So I think I'm gonna wash this yarn just to be safe.
I don't think it's gonna hurt it to wash.
I don't think it'll hurt it to wash it like that. No. To be honest, I've never really washed yarn before I've used it. This hasn't been a concern before, or if it has, I've totally forgotten about it. My memory is just not great about that sort of thing. So, but my intention is I think I'm gonna like untwist it so it's like the big loops, but like keep the little ties on there, and then I'm just gonna let all of those soak and then like lay them flat in their little loops and let them dry.
Yes.
That's okay. That
sounds like a good
That's
plan.
what you would do?
I think so.
Okay, if anyone has better methods of washing yarn, I would love to hear it, but that's my plan. So yeah, that's my last acquisition. So striped sweater.
Okay, so I don't have any other acquisitions, but I realized I don't really know if this counts as a finished object, but I have been in between my other things knitting these tiny sweaters. They make me so happy. They're just pure joy. And so they're so cute. This is a free pattern by the Wandering Flock, who is amazing for giving the world this beautiful free pattern. I think they're called the mini crop or mini puff crop, maybe? I've just been calling them my little mini sweaters. They're so freaking cute. The pattern does not have stripes, but the stripes are very easy to add. I think I've seen other people add them. It's not like a revolutionary thing that I added. But if you want to knit the stripes, do the little collar and then 5 rows, and then on row 6 and 7 do a stripe, and then 6 rows in between, and then do another stripe, and then 6 rows or two rows for stripes, two rows, and then 6 rows, 2 rows for stripe. There you go. They're so cute.
Are you gonna make a little garland?
That's what I'm trying to do, is make like a little garland so I can have like a little sweater garland. And I'm just using scraps for it. Like, I think this is the biscuits color that I used. I don't know. They're just random little fingering weights. They're just making me so happy.
This would be the potato and leek soup stock set from Coast to Coast. I think we both made some striped socks out of these.
My favorite thing about this pattern, it's free. Go download it just to see this because I love the way she wrote it. It says on there like, gauge, doesn't matter. Fit, no one I know. Like, the sass in this pattern was so funny. And they just make me so happy.
They're so cute.
They take longer than I thought. I did a couple of these last year and I was like, I'm gonna zoom through these and make like 15 a day. No. I think they take me close to 3 hours just because they're kind of fiddly. But they're bringing me so much joy. I'm probably gonna knit some for my coworkers. And I just love them, so I thought I would share them.
I feel like it'd be pretty easy to make little like wire hangers to like put on the Christmas tree for your coworkers with little ornaments or something.
Yes, that'd be so cute.
Or you could just like tie a little string, but they'd be such cute ornaments.
So precious. And I think I saw, what is her name? She is so sweet. I love her YouTube. The Hip Knit Hooray account. She's doing like a little knit along for scrappy ornaments, which I'd already started this before she posted it, but I was like, it's perfect. It's meant to be now. So I just thought I'd share that, and hopefully next time I will have more than 3 to share because they're just so cute. So anyway, that is all that I have to share today.
Perfect. Well, what a good note to end on. I think that's it.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you made it this far, thank you for joining us as we talk through all of our knitting projects. Definitely let us know what you're working on, and feel free to subscribe and continue hanging out and chatting knitting, all things knitting with us.
Yeah, we really do read all the comments and try to respond to as many as we can. And yeah, this knitting community just brings us so much joy. So we're happy to be here and happy that you're here too.
Have a good rest of your day. We'll talk to you next time.